Gamebox Monthly sends a new awesome indie tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize them to fit your style. Also, you're guaranteed to never get a title you already have, letting you focus on what matters most, having a great time with great people.
So visit GameboxMonthly.com and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for the hell with this listeners.
Once again, that's GameboxMonthly.com.
Rediscover social.
Hey, that's our first time reading ad copy.
That's true.
I mean, I do it sometimes for fun on my own.
What?
So it's not literally my first time.
Oh, we're recording. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, let
Hi.
me just sip my coffee for the first time today.
While you drink, it seems like it's been about a month since you and I have recorded an episode.
That's funny because I think it has.
Yeah, we took an extended holiday break because you became a lazy asshole.
That's true. It's true. I became a lazy asshole by doing the exact opposite of being lazy and just keep doing too much.
Yeah.
Too many things. What are you driving these days, pal? 'Cause the last time I talked to you, you were saying your car broke down.
Yeah, about a week ago. I drive a 2002 Ford Focus.
That's an old car.
It's an old car. This summer, it'll be 16 years old.
You're saying it as if it's still alive.
It is still alive. That's what I drove here today. But this summer, it will be old enough to get its own driver's license.
So it's gonna become a self-driving car.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I could just upgrade the whole thing. I was driving on the freeway home from work, and I heard an explosion under the driver's seat, just like a really loud bang.
Underneath your ass.
Yeah, and it wasn't a fart. I know that's what you're thinking. Well, the car seemed to run fine, and I was getting off the freeway right then anyway, so I'm like, all right, I guess maybe I ran over a rock and it just bounced really hard off the bottom of the car, but the engine started to die on me unless I kept the accelerator down, kept feeding it gas. So I was at a red light on a surface street.
Usually you want to stop the car when it feels like it's not running anymore.
I did. I'm getting there. I pulled over into a Burger King parking lot, and as soon as I stopped moving the car, the whole thing was just like, and it just died.
Oh, God.
And I opened the hood, and I saw there was it looked like water. I found out later it was coolant.
Uh-huh.
Long story short, a radiator hose exploded. Like they showed me this hose that's maybe about that long, 18 inches long, and a good 7 inches of the thing was just split open on the side. And the mechanic said there was no sign of long-term wear. Like it wasn't a bad part. It was just old. It's an original part from 16 years ago. So it was just bound to happen.
So what was the like what?
Oh, that was just the engine failing to keep going.
Gotcha.
That was the car dying. And I ended up having to wait, about 3 hours for a tow truck because my insurance company, which I will not mention for fear of being sued, provided. And then they were like, huh? We didn't know you wanted a tow truck. Yeah, motherfuckers. Called you at 7 p.m. It's 10:30 now. So Ashley came to get me, and
so they
she has
didn't
a
even
AAA
send
card.
anything?
No, they didn't send anything. We had to call AAA instead.
Nice.
AAA is not a sponsor of this podcast, but
I was gonna say, did you have AAA? And then of course you said you did. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask who your insurance company was, but I assume it's not the same as mine. Mine is USAA.
And no,
Provided.
I wish I could have USAA, but my dad was not an officer, so I am not allowed to buy USAA.
For those of you outside the country, USAA is basically for
Military
United States
families.
military families only,
Yeah.
and their offspring, or spawn, as we like to call them. So
yeah, the car's running fine now. I had to take it back to the shop a second time because it was still leaking coolant everywhere all over my driveway. They're like, "Oh, we didn't see this before. We're going to charge you for all that labor again, though."
Dude, seriously?
Fucking dickheads. Yeah, they should have caught it when they were in there the first time.
How many miles does this car have now?
104,000. Not many
That's
for 16 years. Yeah, I only drive it about 7,000 miles a year.
Wow, that's crazy. I would imagine that car would be around 200 by now.
I'm a homebody. I watch a lot of TV.
But I've seen you drive that thing quite a bit, so you definitely don't do trips to Colorado and back like I do.
No,
so.
no, sir. Or Illinois.
I'll be at 100,000 in no time. Oh. I think my Hyundai, which was 2001, when it died in 2012, it had way over. It had like 150.
Wow. Well, let me ask you where your personal line is for when you get rid of a car. Like, I looked it up on Kelley Blue Book.
It's useless.
My car, I could maybe, if I sold it privately on Craigslist or something, I could maybe get max $800 for it.
Right.
I just had to pay over the last 2 weeks $400 in repairs. I mean, is it sort of? Do you look at it like if you have to pay as much as the car is worth, you just total it and like sell it for scrap and get a new car at that point? Because I kind of look at it like, well, you can spend $25,000 on a new car, or you can just spend the $500 and repair this one.
Sure. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, because at least you know your car and you know what the problems are with it. And if you buy a new one, you don't know if you're getting screwed over by someone. I mean, a new one as in a new used car.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Well, they have like lemon laws to make sure you're not getting that hosed.
Yeah, but then you got to deal with a lot of bullshit. Like if you're dealing with someone in particular who's like a third party who's selling it to you. Mm-hmm. An individual selling their old car, like they could have driven it into the ground and changed the whole engine, and then they're trying to sell it, Yeah. So it's kind of like.
Or some people go to CarMax and they were lucky to get together with their money in the first place.
Right. Exactly. So I don't know. I think it depends on if you have a cheaper car and the parts are cheap. If you have any idea like how to do mechanic stuff, then it's almost worth just...
some things, but when it gets into engine stuff, radiator stuff, replacing all the hoses that are buried underneath 7 other parts, that's a little too much for me. I know how to replace the headlights, know how to replace the motor in the power windows. I only realized a few months ago that the fucking rear seats in my car fold down. That's how familiar I am with my car. I never thought they did for the last 15 years.
I think the biggest thing I've ever had to do was...
You've done brakes and
change
stuff, right?
Brakes, yeah.
I know our friend Mickey, she's into car stuff. Mm-hmm. I've always been meaning to pay her a surprise visit and be like, tell me what's wrong with my car.
I've got a few cousins who are mechanics, so usually I'll go to them and discover what's wrong with it and get a more trusted opinion about what's happening with it. But
that's the thing about going to any car shop. Like the guy at the front window can be the nicest dude you've ever met, but you never know what the mechanics are doing with your car behind the scenes. Maybe they're taking a spark plug out, swishing it around their mouth for a second, putting it back, and say they're going to charge you for a new one. I have no education, or I don't have the experience to identify when I'm getting screwed.
Right.
So it's hard to find a place you trust.
Well, it's hard even if you know what you're doing and know cars really well, it's still hard to determine if something has been done like that. Mm-hmm. I think if you know cars well enough and if you were to record where everything is in the car, like where the parts are, what's in there, you'd find that I've honestly, my faith in like the whole mechanic system is like so minimal because I just feel like I've been screwed over like a few times.
Yeah, me too. I guess I look at it like this: even if I am getting a little bit screwed sometimes, it's not that I'm okay with it, but it's sort of like these are the people with a whole garage full of tools and the thing that lifts the car up, and I have a couple of jack stands. Like I'm never going to get a full view of my car from underneath like they can. Right. I'm not going to go out and buy a whole garage worth of tools to fix everything. I have the Haynes manual for my car, or at least for my
Which I'm guessing you've never opened.
No, I've opened it, and I've opened it enough to know that the diagrams and stuff don't line up with my car. They used
Isn't that funny?
a different kind of Ford Focus because my oil plug or whatever is not where that book says it is.
I feel like I have the same, like, for my car, I had the Haynes guide, but mine's like the turbo version, and they made it for like the non-turbo version. So everything's totally different anyway.
Yeah.
It's really the same with anything. I just built my new computer, and like even the diagrams on the instructions for some of the shit in there was like not lining up. And I'm like, well, that doesn't even exist on my machine. So.
Yeah. What the fuck? This thing only has 7 plugs on it.
Yeah.
That picture has 8.
So any other news? I got engaged.
You got engaged.
Since last time. So there's that.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. And I don't want this to be insulting.
Mark, I'm already getting married, so I can't say yes to you.
That's not that. It's as a person who has been seeing the same woman for 7 years, and I have not proposed, and I'm not like in a hurry to even.
Sure.
We bought a house together. I kind of put that on a higher place than marriage.
Sure.
My question to you.
That makes sense for you guys, though, because that's more your outlook on life, I guess.
Well, I'm sure Ashley would like to be married. She wants a reason to wear more jewelry. Why?
Why get married? Why?
I mean, I have my reasons why I'm not getting married, but I'm wondering if you have, like, if there's a specific goal, if it's something you've always wanted to do and you're just looking for the right person, you're madly, passionately insane in love.
Well, I think, I don't know, I think, we're both at a point in our lives, we do want children, which I know you don't.
I do not.
You hate children.
I hate kids. I hated them when I was a kid.
Kids. No, I think it's funny because you're talking about having been in a relationship for what you said, 7 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen a lot of people who've been in long relationships who finally got married and then it just falls apart because it's like an added stress that didn't need to be put on late.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people who either are married or were married and got divorced. I talked to me and Ashley, who's the same accountant, and even he was like, "No, don't do it. It's just gonna ruin your life."
Well, the way I see it is like, I'm all about doing things, like, obviously, like, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense because we get along great, and the marriage part, like, we, I guess, are more traditional in that sense. Like, we don't want to have little bastards running around, basically, for the
I
sake
thought it was only a bastard if the dad leaves, and they don't know who the father is or whatever.
Maybe, who knows?
I don't know.
Anyway, I mean, we're a little bit more traditional in that sense, I guess.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, if you make a decision, you stick to it, and you.
I'm not trying to challenge your actions here. That's not what my goal is. I was just curious.
I think, I don't know, like, it also has a lot to do. Everybody's kind of raised in a certain way. I was raised in a way that was kind of like, marriage failed early on, and my parents, like, they got divorced when I was like 12. And I don't think it didn't seem to affect me like on a surface level. Maybe subconsciously it did, but I never really. I look back on it now, and I see how other people were like super fucked up by their parents getting divorced, and for me, it was like, okay, cool, whatever.
You only got like 15% fucked up,
right?
Not totally fucked up.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm an only child, so for me, it's like I don't have any family outside of my parents and my cousins, really.
Right.
And so on the other hand of it, I kind of like her family's awesome. So it's kind of like joining another family.
Yeah.
Kind of adding on to your own. So I think without getting married, you don't really have that,
Sure. You're not officially part of the family.
Sure.
You don't have these new people to hang out with.
Yeah.
I will say Ashley's family is pretty cool overall.
Yeah?
Mostly.
That's good. I don't think I've ever met them.
No.
You know why? Because you're not married.
Well, plus everybody lives in Nashville and Illinois.
Oh, God.
And they only come out here like once a year, if that, maybe once every 2 years.
So I heard this was a movie podcast, but I'm not entirely certain.
We haven't mentioned any movies. We're going to get to it this episode.
Okay, we're still catching everybody up on our last month, right?
We got the last month. One thing we really need to talk about, The Last Jedi. We haven't discussed it on the podcast.
We haven't discussed it.
I've only seen it once. I would see it again.
Do we really want to do this right now?
Do we want to save it for later? We're supposed to be talking about the other movie later.
I mean, we could discuss Last Jedi when we actually watch it.
We're gonna do it. Okay. I mean, we could just discuss it because it's so controversial.
It is.
But then we gotta wait for the fucking Blu-ray to come out.
I was actually talking to Matt last night about it.
How does Matt feel about it?
50-50. He enjoyed it more than Rogue One or The Force Awakens.
See, I think I like it more than Force Awakens, but less than Rogue One. I really, really liked Rogue One.
I
know a lot of people did not.
I didn't as much at the time, but now I'm like really like.
It was
last time I saw it, I was like, damn, that was a really fucking good movie.
Yeah, it was just like it was what I've been waiting for decades for out of a Star Wars movie. Well, something that was more concerned with the war.
It really is like the anti Last Jedi, because Last Jedi is so popcorn and has kind of a Marvel movie mentality to it, even though there's still some there's more stakes in that than a Marvel movie, I would say, in Last Jedi, because people still die, you know. But like Rogue One felt like, oh shit, like, you know, spoiler, how the fuck is anyone gonna survive this?
Oh wait, they're not.
Oh wait, no one is. Like, everyone's going to die, all the characters that we know and love. Like,
they nuked the planet.
They nuked the planet. They even nuked the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think just that in general, and like, especially with everything leading into that, like all the rumors about how production was a mess and post was a mess. And
stuff that was in the first trailer didn't end up in the final movie, and like how much changed.
50% of what's in the trailer is not, I think more than that.
Yeah.
Like, which is fine, I think. Like, it kind of goes to show that sometimes you have to just sell the movie as its own thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I do wonder, like, some of the stuff that was in the trailer, whether or not it was ever actually in the movie, or if they just created it for the sake of having a trailer that was amazing.
Oh, like maybe they had some unfinished shots, and they were like, well, we gotta have something.
Well, no, like the shot where she's like at the end of the movie, she's walking
down
to
that hallway,
the thing, and the TIE fighter flies up.
Yeah.
Like, they use the exact same shot in the movie, but of course there's no TIE fighter there.
Right.
So it made me wonder if they were like, let's just add a TIE fighter to the shot for the sake of the trailer alone, and only.
I don't know. I remember hearing stories like that was near the end, and the movie had a lot of problems at the end, and maybe her having a fucking gunfight with a TIE fighter was just too much for that movie.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't have the, I'm using the word loosely here, the realism that the rest of the movie.
It was never going to be a gunfight. She was going to walk up and punch it, and it was going to be knocked unconscious.
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, like the horse in Blazing Saddles.
So, Last Jedi. What were your thoughts? Or do you want to actually watch it?
We'll save the longer discussion for later, but
because we could be going for hours on this alone before we even get into a movie.
So we should get to this movie. Suffice to say, I think it feels like the end of a story instead of the middle part of a story. I give it 7 out of 10. I think it's very similar to Return of the Jedi. And that kind of leaves us in a place where we don't know what's coming next. Like, it could go anywhere.
Which I don't like. I don't like that as much. Like, I mean, I like the idea of you still got to know what the stakes are going into the next movie. And right now, I have no idea what those are.
Yeah. Like, I can't say I'm too excited about Episode 9. A, because JJ's back, and he's whatever. And he's competent. He's perfectly competent at making movies.
Yeah. I thought Force Awakens was great. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, there's a few scenes that I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
Like, the whole Han Solo, like, when they first show up and, like, there's all these people showing up at the exact same time to get...
I thought that was a good scene. Very good sequence.
Oh, God, I hate it. Well, that felt like it belonged in one of JJ's Star Trek movies. That did not feel like Star Wars to me. That felt like Star Trek.
It was like it was a humor-based action sequence.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fine on its own, but... regardless, JJ's back for Episode 9, and we have no idea what's next. So it's hard to get excited about it.
It's very hard. Because who's the bad guy now? I mean, Kylo, what? He's gotten his bitch ass kicked many times now, and like, he's not really threatening. He's an interesting, fascinating character, especially after Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think he is the most interesting character in the new movies now.
Here we're still going on about this. We need to. All right,
we should just stop.
We'll come back to this someday.
The movie I supplied today is one I haven't seen. Chad hasn't seen.
I haven't seen it either.
But I wanted to experience it together. It's Halloween 3: Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3. I haven't seen any Halloween movies. First of all, I've never seen part 1. Never seen part 2. Never seen part 3. Never seen
part 4 or The Curse of Michael Myers or the Rob Zombie remakes.
Right. Nothing.
Well, you don't have to bother with anything after 2 or 3. If this is good, we could say 3.
Okay.
Everything else is dumb. Even the one where Jamie Lee Curtis is killed, because now they're retconning her and she's back to life.
Spoiler.
It's okay that you haven't seen any of them, because Halloween 3 stands on its own.
Okay.
From what I understand, they were trying to... They're like, Michael Myers is the slasher killer. Mm-hmm. He is the Jason or Freddy of the Halloween series.
Right, Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Right.
You got it. Shrek.
Sure.
Wayne's World.
Right.
They wanted to not be stuck with the Michael Myers character wearing the dumb mask every time, which is funny because every movie after 3 is exactly that. They brought him back.
Right.
Maybe because he's such an iconic, you can tell what you're watching right away.
Right.
They were trying to get away from Michael Myers and just have a different Halloween horror story. And I guess they're going to do one every year or every few years and just keep cranking out more and more like horror anthology type stories where they didn't have anything to do with each other. Kind of what Cloverfield is doing.
Well, I was going to say, isn't that exactly what, God, what the hell's the name of the movie? One of the most like Halloween films in the recent times.
Trick or Treat?
Trick or Treat.
Well, that was like 3 or 4 stories in one movie.
Yeah.
The idea would have been like, this movie's on its own, the next movie's on its own. It wouldn't be like...
It seems like, for whatever reason, the horror genre has definitely really... I mean, with all the kids' books that we read, like in school, the anthology books are like
scary stories
scary
to tell in the
stories.
dark. Yeah. Oh, man, some of the illustrations will fuel your nightmares for years.
Most of them were god-awful, but...
Yeah, they were like just dumb stories, but some of them were creepy. I still use the I am the Viper. I am here to wipe your windows.
I didn't know that was a thing, but...
Oh. Well, this woman who works in an office keeps getting phone calls. I am the Viper. I'll be there in 2 hours. I am the Viper. I am taking the elevator up right now. And then he knocks on the door. I am the Viper. I'm here to wipe the windows.
Does she die?
No.
I don't think so. Does he wipe her clean? No?
I don't remember now. I think he just wipes the windows.
Oh.
Maybe he fixes the cable.
Great.
So that's what we're getting into. I
have no idea what to expect.
This is a very culty movie. All I know about it is that it stars the same lead character from Night of the Creeps. Can't remember his name now. You ever seen that?
Nope.
Well, it's another one to talk about. And the story involves an evil company, perhaps through paranormal means, perhaps just through technological means, using Halloween masks to control the minds of the children who wear them.
It's an interesting concept.
But to what end? I don't know. I don't think I've even seen a trailer in the last 5 years.
Sounds like an episode of Black Mirror.
Right. It could, yeah. But it could, maybe it's going to be like Satan tech. It'll be really obviously evil, cheesy 80s shit.
There's only one way to find out.
I guess we better turn it on.
All right, let's do it.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween. The barriers will be down between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red.
Halloween, the children.
You happen to know anything about this Cochran?
All I can tell you, mister, is watch out. He's watching you, friend, I guarantee you that.
Trick or treat, trick or treat.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process?
Fellas, I was just kidding.
Witchcraft. To us, it was a way of controlling our environment.
Hey!
Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory.
I want a mask. Can I have a mask?
Just what I had in mind for you, little buddy. Why, Do I need a reason?
I've got nothing here to indicate there was ever a body at all.
Operator, this is an emergency.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it.
You've got to believe me.
They're going to kill us. All of us.
Stop it.
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Stop it!
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the night no one comes home.
Season of the Witch.
Mark seems to think the ending was flat, but I thought it was great because everyone dies.
But we don't know. It doesn't tell you for sure. It stops. It just ends.
But it's clear, like, the video has already started.
But
all right, explain the premise of this movie for everyone who
I don't know if I can.
No one's gonna have watched this unless they've already seen it.
All right, what's the shortest way I can say this? There is a secretive company making Halloween masks for all the kids to wear, and this company is also run. Is he actually like an ancient being or something?
I don't think so.
Because he like weirdly disappears at the end when he gets zapped.
I thought I thought it was just hinted that he ended up being the sacrifice.
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, he's an Irishman, and his little organization has stolen one of the rocks from Stonehenge because it's magic. So he's using technology and magic together to turn all the kids' heads who are wearing the masks into bugs and snakes.
Into mush, yeah.
And I don't know why. He made some reference.
Even asked why, and he
he's
says,
like, "Do I need a reason?" Yeah.
He says basically that's the whole point of Halloween is to have sacrifices.
Yeah, and he said it's like gonna be a practical joke on the children. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That said, the one time we see a kid's head turn into mush is pretty disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's basically the guy who's created this company has planned for this to be like the last Halloween.
Yeah.
At least, I don't know what his plans are. See, he's made all these masks. He's created this army of robots because he's kind of
He's a tinkerer.
Tinkerer,
sort of.
yeah. He likes
with
making, and
machines. And
obviously he trusts robots and they do his bidding
Right.
for him. And then he's basically just sent out all these masks, made them super popular with this super cheesy commercial that just gets stuck in your head. And so all the kids want these masks. There's three kinds of them, and they all have a microchip installed,
which makes them like get hypnotized by the TV whenever the commercial plays. But the final commercial includes a special message at the end, which kills them all.
Basically, just melts their head inside of the mask,
and turns it into crickets.
Yeah, it turns it into snakes and crickets, and then in theory, when the kids all die on Halloween, all the parents will too.
Yeah, like
because there'll just be all these bugs and snakes.
The reason I was asking if he's actually some very old like wizard guy is not only because he's way too good with machines to make them look alive like that, but he was saying like in the old days the hills would run red with blood of animals and children and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it sounded like he was there.
I suppose.
I don't know.
But he also had his like one of his older robots from like the 1700s or something.
Yeah.
It
seemed
seemed
like
like
it was like a collector's item that could have been bought.
He was trying to rebuild it or something, or didn't he? It almost was like he bought it. It's not like he was there for when it was made, but
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It sounds to me like I enjoyed this movie more than you did.
Maybe. I mean, it was interesting. It kind of takes a while to get where it's going. The plot, basically the motivation for all these people is very unclear. I don't even really know why our main character is doing this. It starts with a guy running away from guys in suits who we later find in the movie to be robots built by the bad guy. And that guy ends up in a hospital, and a main character is the doctor who's there the night he is killed by one of the robots. From there, he meets the dead guy's daughter, bones her immediately.
It doesn't even, like, she doesn't seem too broken up about the fact that her dad's dead.
Yeah, well, it's an emotional time. She needs a shoulder to cry.
Sure, right.
Yeah. And they
it's
go
the
off.
80s. I mean, come on.
They go off on a little detective search, finding the company that made the masks, because the dead guy was carrying one of those masks, and that was one of the last places he went before he died. So that it all centers around that. But I don't even know why the doctor is like that interested. At a certain point, he should have just been like, "Well, I'm out. See ya."
Well, I mean, he was
guess they
having sex.
tried.
He was having sex with a 23-year-old. That's probably what was keeping him there. Instead of he had his nagging ex-wife on the phone who would never listen to him.
True. They were about to leave, and then the robots kidnap the girl, so he's got to go find her, and then he gets captured, and it goes on from there.
Goes crazy. I mean, from all the 80s horror films that we've watched so far, I feel like this one still was one of the more coherent ones. This was more coherent than what was the
Prince of Darkness?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, this and that obviously are very similar, but they're both Carpenter
territory.
Even though he only produced this one.
Yeah,
correct?
I think he like did a
and
little
did
bit
the
of
music,
writing and the music, but
and it just looks like a Carpenter film.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the one in the mortuary?
Oh shit!
Or the
that was fairly recent. I know what you mean.
Yeah, wasn't we watched it like 2 months ago? Yeah. Anyway,
that one was so simple. It was coherent.
It was too simple.
The dead psychic guy wanted to come back to life. Oop,
done. Yeah. I mean, this one didn't have. This one wasn't like extremely out there. It just.
I think it's something about the combination of computers, which were kind of first becoming a big thing in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. This came out in 82. And combining that with magic it sort of feels like the old people are going, computers and TV will ruin everything.
Right.
It's going to kill all the children. Feels a little bit, they don't ever say like, it's not a message movie like that. It's just one of those themes that's kind of going in behind the scenes of everything.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated it just because it seemed exactly like what it was supposed to be.
It's very, I would say, pretty poorly made. It feels super cheap.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't feel expensive, that's for sure.
No. You were saying it seemed to have a decent budget. I don't know. It. They have one big set at the end where everything happens.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is location shooting. And there's some...
But it had some fairly...
There's some special effects and makeup effects.
Yeah. It was clear that, the camera motion, the camera team seemed pretty good. Like, the motion of the camera was, pretty well done. The direction seemed decent for what it was.
Just straightforward.
Acting was like, okay, whatever.
See,
the bad guy was the best
for
actor
sure
in the movie.
The bad guy is also...
He was in RoboCop.
The CEO from RoboCop.
Yeah.
And he played one of the alien good guys in The Last Starfighter. Yeah. Amazingly. I would not have guessed that was him.
With makeup on his face, you would never tell.
Tons of makeup. It's funny you mentioned the camera work, because there were many times when it felt like the camera should have landed on a particular frame or character, and it kept on kind of rolling around.
Operation, not so great.
Okay.
Because the camera was bumping like on still shots constantly.
Yeah.
But I just mean in terms of like setup for there was a lot of like dolly and jib movement. Mm-hmm. So you had kind of a lot of 3D movement, which is, on a cheap movie, you don't even typically have a dolly. You just have a tripod set up somewhere. So, it felt like they had, it must have been a couple $1 million.
Yeah, at least. It was coming off of
you said
Halloween 1 and 2.
You said it made $14 million theatrically,
and it was considered a flop. So,
still, I would assume this movie cost. This could have been a $10 million movie for all I know. So
yeah,
I suppose even though it's a flop, maybe it still made its money back.
Over time, I'm sure it has, now that it's on Blu-ray, restored.
It looks
from Shout Factory.
Pretty damn good, considering.
Yeah. I didn't see any dirt on here at all. They got a very nice turnout. I guess I'm disappointed because I don't know why some people love this movie.
Interesting.
I'm trying to see what there is to love about it. It wasn't funny, except for how bad it was when we had to shout out like, "Oh, Jesus, why would they do that?" Or like when we find out one of our characters is one of the robots.
Right.
And every piece of her attacks the main character in sequence. And that's another question. Was she always a robot, or was she replaced with a robot and just killed somewhere off screen, which seems really dumb.
I would assume that she was killed off screen.
Me
because
too.
She disappeared for like half the movie.
Yeah.
Because she was taken hostage, so to speak. This reminded me a lot of Runaway, to be honest.
I can see that.
Tone and just the way it was, like. But so what about Runaway made that better than, say, this?
Boy, I don't know. It seemed to
Runaway, by the way, was what, our third episode,
something like that. It was very early. Tom Selleck movie with robots. I guess Runaway, it moves a lot faster and there's more action in it. Like the pace overall keeps me interested, and it's not so much the mystery like it is in this movie.
Right.
Because we're like in Runaway, we were introduced to the bad guy. We get his whole fucking plot from the word go. Then it's just from there, it's action and suspense following through all these set pieces. I think that's where its strengths are. And this movie seems to have like one set piece, which is the end running through the warehouse.
It was funny that this is even a Halloween film because it's more like
sci-fi.
It felt more like Trick or Treat. It did feel like anthology, like we were talking about. But it was funny that they actually incorporate Halloween 1.
Yeah, they keep showing it on the TVs.
On TV. Like saying the Halloween classic, Halloween. And then they'd show Jamie Lee Curtis.
We get it, John Carpenter. You're really proud of Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much to say about this movie outside of the fact that it's definitely in the vein of these kind of movies. It follows kind of like borrows a little bit from all these movies as far as like a modern translation.
Yeah, I know the podcast is subtitled An Underrated Movie Podcast. I feel like this movie is rated right where it should be. Like at about 40%. 4 out of 10.
I mean, I could see like this is the kind of movie, it would be valued as terrible when it comes out. Because there's no nostalgic value to it. There's nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I don't know what people go back for. I don't know. Like the fucking Halloween song that keeps playing throughout the movie is annoying as fuck. So you can't even get any enjoyment out of like, that song is kind of funny. No, it's just annoying.
I love that halfway through the movie I said, man, it was a really good commercial that they made for the thing. And Mark looks at me very slowly and goes, really? It's terrible. I don't know. I thought that, like, if you paid somebody to make a commercial like that now, I feel like they would just fuck it all up by making it all wrong.
Yeah, it wouldn't have that vibe. Well, let's talk to Burger King and see if we can make a super goddamn annoying commercial for them.
And put masks in every single, not Happy Meal, because Burger King doesn't have Happy Meals.
They don't? I thought they had little kids'
McDonald's. Well, I don't know what they call it, though.
Whatever it is. It's probably just called
we'll start our own huge sacrifice. Put masks in every single, meal.
Right. I mean, I'm struggling to find any part of the movie that was clever or particularly well done, and it all just kind of seems like the only surprise was, okay, it's an old Irish guy using magic to kill a bunch of kids. Once you have that, there's nothing else.
Right.
Like, it's just a matter of, I don't know.
So basically, this is the first time that Mark has brought a movie that I've enjoyed and he has not enjoyed.
I'm not sure. I mean, I might listen to the commentary track to hear
why
the directors or whoever's on the track opinions.
Right. I mean, this is the second time we've watched. Well, actually, I guess. Well, I didn't like Phantom of the Paradise, and neither did you. It seemed like
no.
That was another case of a cult movie that neither of us understood why. Anybody
that movie I would recommend to certain people. Because I can imagine a person who likes movies like that.
Hey, you look like you'd enjoy a terrible movie. Yeah, I don't.
I can't think of the person I would recommend this to who hasn't seen it already.
Right.
Like, if anybody's into this movie, they've made it a point to watch it by now.
Right.
Well,
on that note, do you have anything else to say about this movie that you brought that I enjoy and you hate? I don't know that I'd ever watch it again.
This episode was sponsored by Gamebox Monthly. Be sure to go to GameboxMonthly.com. What's the tagline?
Rediscover social.
With the promo code DRAGON.
Dragon, yeah.
It's Dragon